Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome you to Next Industry 5.0 keynote speech. After 2 years, we will talk again about the power industry in the age of Industry 5.0. My name is Michael Rada. I'm a human, and I'm the founder of Industry 5.0. And before we start, let me ask you two questions. The first one is who we are. Because we have many titles. We are managers, presidents. We are chairmen, students, producers, teachers, fathers, and mothers. We have collected many titles during our lives, but we forgot one. We are human beings. Living ones, not like this man on County Art of Pilsen Brewery. And if we do realize who we are, let me ask you the second question. Where do we live? Because we live in beautiful cities like Rublet, Paris, Pilsen, Brussels. We live in beautiful cities which we fill with trash. We work in factories which produce in one day more trash than a city in a month. We produce products which frequently before reaching the end user become trash as well and store them in big metal houses filled with air, calling for more houses to be built to store the waste inside. And at the end of our shift, we went home next to the products of our production, of our hands. And we maybe realized that something what was called food before is called bio-waste today. And we look at the red sky above our head and we ask ourselves, where do we live? I will answer this question in a while to you. But before I do so, let me introduce and explain what is Industry 5.0 because it is the first industrial evolution ever led by man, by a human. It's based on the principles of systematic waste prevention, industrial upcycling, and it was launched on December 1st, 2015 already, by an article called Industry 5.0 from Virtual to Physical. Industry 5.0 recognizes and prevents 4 types of waste: physical, social, urban, and process waste. And the principles has been implemented already since 2013. Which helps to prevent more than 1 million metric tons of products and materials to become waste. What is the existing reality? I was born on December 24th, 1971. At that time, our planet was called Blue Marble. But in 2019, the planet was not blue anymore. It was covered with environmental damage, with smoke, and damages all around the globe. But in 2020, something special started. Something very strange happened. Because the blue marble show up again. Not because the human changed intentionally his behavior, but because a virus locked a human behind the door. We are living on a planet around which we have been able in few decades establish a global landfill on the orbit with 170 million pieces of space debris, pieces smaller than 10 centimeters, 750,000 of 10 to 30 centimeters, 80,000 above 30 centimeters. And what we do to the planet itself? We dig inside hunting for only criteria of success, which is more money, more cars, more houses, more people, more companies. Ask Fortune 500 members. Ask Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Mike Bloomberg, how they get to the ladder. We are living on a planet together with 7.95 billion people, not knowing that in 1812 there was only 1 billion people living on the same planet. 100 years later, in 1912, it was 1.5 billion, which means that in the last 100 years, despite of 2 world wars, 2 war pandemics, and more than 650 local war conflicts, there are living more than 5 times more people on the planet. And in 2050, some predict 11 billion people should be living here. And just now, please remember the last picture. We are living on a planet in 206 countries, according to UN 193. We are speaking 7,000 languages, riding 1 billion car, and we let 9 million people die hungry, despite the fact that every single day more than 23 million tons of food and crop is being wasted. We let 800,000 people die thirsty every single year, despite the fact that only California crude oil industry consumes 347 million liters of drinking water every single day. We plant our food and grow it to throw it away because the leaves are not green enough for the buyer in a chain store. In the case of overproduction, we store our products in the landfills and in the rivers not to spoil the market price. We carry our water in firefighting tanks not knowing that the same amount of water is needed to produce just one and simple hamburger. And we do it on a planet on which one sip of water can save not one, but 2 lives. We are working in factories which has walls filled with environmental certificates, and behind the walls the same factory creates a landfill. We store our obsolete packaging in a parking lot of employees, waiting till it becomes waste. We throw away products which are not perfect for one, having up to 14 issues, but which can serve hundreds and thousands of others. We do it listening to the words of World Bank, which says that till 2050 the waste volume should increase in some destination double, despite the fact that almost everything can be reused or repurposed. But in fact only 13.5 is being reused or repurposed on a global scale. This is what made waste industry the third most profitable industry in the world, just after the war industry and the crude oil industry. But we have to speak about the power industry, and this is a very special one because despite the fact that commercial utilization of electric power started in 1882, electricity and electric power represents the strongest of power industries. It covers the generation, transmission, distribution, and sale of the electric power. And before it, the power was represented by fire, steam, water, and wind, all in small installation. The main resources to generate it was firewood, coal, gas, and water again. And it was local, because it was needed to heat a home, not to heat a city. But with the electricity, from local become global, and the trade become global as well, which needs networks, technology, rules, and regulations. What is the connection between power and waste? The power generation uses a lot of earth resources. The extraction is needed, and a lot of production surplus burden is generalized. 8 to 15% from the power station to consumer is being wasted, but in power distribution it's more than 50% of technical or non-technical issues, and 16.6 it's commercial. From material extraction to energy consumption, it's generated an enormous amount of waste, physical so as process waste, and it's connected to the urban and social waste. In 2014, global electricity power transmission consists of 5.5 million CKM. And in 2018, it was sold 400,000 lattice towers and monopoles, but at the same time, 63 million utilities towers. The reality is that in 1927, there was only one power station in the world. But in 2019, there are 2,425. The global emissions are growing. And in 2019, there was 440 nuclear power stations working in the world. And I don't know whether you know, but the plans are that in 2030, they should be reduced to 297. These numbers has been prepared before the crisis in Ukraine and Russia, which changed the game. But what is not changing is the increasing volume of power consumption all around the globe. The numbers are growing because we grow our dependency on the electricity. To cover this, new power is needed, but is it really new? Some of the power sources are used more than 7,000 years. So what changed is the priority which transfer originally the heat into electricity. And so the renewable energy exists here for forever. Just the human add the transmission and distribution routes. But the new power will not be fed by big power stations, but by a local small, creating so-called island system and decentralized solution. Local will be exchanged for global, and it will serve as a backup system for national electric grid. Instead of only power generation, the power storage become more and more important, which means the harmonization and on-demand production are needed. How will the power industry look in the age of Industry 5.0? It will be extended on functionality of the existing power networks and segments, the planning and harmonization of production so as consumption is needed to be applied, increase coverage with minimum investment through shared technology, decrease dirty fuels dependency, decrease single source addiction, and balance consumption system setup. We have to create new from existing, and we should change the end of life system utilization. You know, it's not a big wind power tower which has to generate the electricity. It can be small size installation. This one generate 1 kilowatt in a good wind condition. The issue is that we have built our future on the top of a pyramid, not knowing or not realizing that the pyramid has not been built for the living ones, but for the dead ones, by the living ones. I realized that long time ago, and I started to build another groundstones to build our future on it. It's called 6R. And how does it work? It's not easy because firstly you have to recognize that something must not become waste. But the second step is even harder because you have to reconsider what to do with it. And the third one is the reward, but it comes after you fail for the first, second, even the third time. But when you succeed, you will start to change the world. And you may ask how this can be applied in power industry. Let me give you one example. Do you know this picture? Do you know that billions are standing in a countryside, in cities all around the globe? And have you realized that these are just a single use items, single purpose devices? So what about to reconsider their use? What about to take the existing new technology and combine it? What about to use the power grid to generate, not only transfer the electricity? I was asked many times in the last 9 years, what is the value of waste prevention? And we spent a lot of time to calculate following number. 475 trillion US dollars was the value of waste prevention in 2019. What is interesting that already in the first year, you can cut the waste management cost by 50%. But unfortunately, since 2019, the number is no more valid. I'm sorry for that, because the value increased. Industry 5.0 value is higher than it was the value of any industry in the human history. At the moment is more than 1 quadrillion. Why? Because of the war in Ukraine, where not a single shot will be reused and not a single human life lost can be recovered. To implement Industry 5.0 principles, I spent 8 years to write the waste prevention legislation framework. And here it is. It was globally launched on September 1st, 2021. And how does it work? Firstly, nothing that can be used or utilized again must become waste. Everything must be considered as a pre-waste existing resource and remain in the system. The secondary use or utilization is not limited to a primary function of a product or material and can be executed by everyone respecting the rules and safety regulations. Collecting, sorting, baling, and trade are not anymore considered secondary utilization. And if not utilized on a primary location, it must be offered to others before being wasted. And dear ladies and gentlemen, there is no waste if we do not waste. I don't know if you trust me, but not a single legislation in the world contain definition how waste is being created. So I spent my time and define it. Wasting is a process in which product or material of any kind, form, or volume become waste. Wasting is a system failure and must be prevented first without any limitation and legal restriction. And please understand, wasting is not a feature of a product or material, but the result of human behavior. And single use is one of the most frequent ways of wasting. Let me remind you on the waste categories which I am speaking about and which Industry 5.0 prevents to happen. Every one of you do understand the physical waste, because this is the trash which you have in your hands every single day. But very few understand that there is a social waste, which are people, animals, and even the other creatures of nature, which are cut from living meaningful life, and sometimes kept serving best death as a food stock. We have urban waste, empty factories, building flats in the cities in which people do not have a roof above their heads. And we are building on green fields instead of using the brown fields which already has been built. And there is a process waste which you will find in every single segment, factory, business, company, organization. On a government level, because systematic wasting and process wasting is omnipresent. Did you know that more than 50% of shipping containers carrying the cargo are carrying just air on their way around the globe? Industry 5.0 is the first industrial evolution ever led by man, by human. It's a new mindset of people and businesses, from wasteful to wasteless. It delivered the results without the need of capital investment, and it based on the principles of industrial upcycling. It utilized the on-the-ground mines, respecting transparency, profit sharing, and efficiency. And please do understand one. Industry 5.0 is not a sales tool or a buzzword for selling robots, technology, or solutions. No, it's a new global ecosystem. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we have seen how does it feel when our work is being digitalized. Our children saw it when their education was digitalized from one day to another, and our leisure time was digitalized long time ago. So it looks like that only what needs to be digitalized is the human himself, but if we do so, our life will look like this. And this is not a mistake, because data don't need any light. I discovered that more than a decade ago, and I have decided I do not want to live on a bottle of a black hole. And I decided to build another home for me and for all who will come. This is the world, wasteless world, which Industry 5.0 was created to build. On January 1st, 2021, we have started the Global Recovery Challenge, calling it 17. Because I say that in 17 months, we can recover on a global scale, economy, society, industries, and ecosystem. Because viruses need the same time to put everything down. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I'm not alone. My name is Michael Rada. I'm human. But all around the world, there are at the moment 102 humans, which act as Industry 5.0 ambassadors, delivering the access to systematic waste prevention to more than 87% of global population. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I have chosen my way 9 years ago. Right now, it is your decision in which world you would like to live and which one you would like to hand over to the others who will come. Thank you for giving me the most valuable assets you have, your time. And I hope we will see each other soon on the construction site of Wasteless World. Have a nice time free of waste and wasting in all its forms, and please stay safe.